ready.
And we were at the lake this weekend, you know that little, Melissa's little black chihuahua? The one that tried to bite you last year?
Yeah,
She brought her to the lake and I was holding on to my dog. We just wanted
How
to
you doing,
play
buddy?
with her.
Good.
She went crazy.
Good. How are you?
Told me,
did it break something?
no, it's just sprained. It's quite swollen, it's sprained. Not my favorite.
All right, folks, it is 4:30. I want to call the meeting to order, please. Public information, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted on the east wall of the Commissioners' room. Roll call, please.
Meyer,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Knapper,
Here.
Reisig,
He is here. I think he's just stepped out. I don't know where he's at.
Blue,
Here.
Okay, could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on the approval of the agenda, I need to add a executive session, excuse me, right before our detention tour
for the purpose.
for the purpose of, excuse me, contract and, personnel.
Okay.
Anybody else have any changes? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
That
Record,
includes that.
it would include that
include
addition.
the addition.
Okay. Hearing none, record your votes, please.
Okay to close?
Close.
And you have 5 yeses?
Thank you. I want to remind everybody that we do reserve the right to enter to a closed session at any time during the meeting, if the board deems it necessary. Moving on to the consent agenda. Mark, did you have something that you wanted to pull?
No.
Okay,
Got it
thank you.
figured out.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'd move approval of the consent agenda as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please record your votes.
Okay to close?
Close, please.
And you have 5 yeses?
Thank you. Need a motion to move into Board of Equalization.
I move that we move into the Board of Equalization.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, record your votes.
Russ? Okay to close?
Close, please.
And you have 5 yeses?
Thank you. First item, receive the tax list corrections. Everybody should have those. Motion to approve the tax list corrections, receive the tax list corrections, I'm sorry.
I'll move to receive the tax list corrections.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, record your votes.
Okay to close?
Close, please. Motion to come out of Board
And
of
you
Eq-
have-
I'm sorry.
You have 5 yeses?
Thank you. Motion to come out of Board of Equalization.
I will move to come out of Board of Equalization.
I'll second it.
Have a second, any discussion? Hearing none, record your votes. Okay, moving on, general
Yeah,
agenda.
Russ?
Well, I hit it once.
And okay to close?
Close, please.
5 yeses?
Thank you. Moving on, general agenda, item discussed, consider the approval of the gas tank fueling system, RPF, RFP, to be publicized for bids, Jay Steinley. in your memo, you indicated you did get a response. Mine came up not PDF, that's why I couldn't open it to get back to you.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
I'm sorry about that.
that's all right. Anyway, just, this shouldn't take much, but just ask for approval to go ahead and, go out and ask for bids from, go to the paper and, submit bids, get people to bring bids in.
Okay,
I just wanted to include that so you guys gotta look at it to see how it's gonna go out basically, and everything, the summary and the drawing on there, what we were gonna basically kinda do, so.
I think we've
We've discussed
it.
it before, but this is just an approval.
Right,
I don't feel we can ready to go out for bids yet. I think this is gonna be an issue that the fire marshal's gonna need to approve. We can't just.
We've already talked to him.
Might have talked to him, but we've gotta get something drawn. It has to be sent to the state.
We've talked to him.
You can't send this to the state.
It's that a responsibility, the bidder's responsibility, so bidder's responsibility, it's in the RFP, that they get the licensing, they get all the permitting.
What about the blueprint and the, somebody's gotta draw this up. I mean,
City of Gearing's approved it, they said it's fine. But the city fire marshal said it's fine.
we don't, I think we still need a set of prints for this thing, it's some kind of a drawing, just a small amount of
Can I
engineering.
get, can you use your mic, please? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Not really. Can you guys
Russ,
hear me?
are you concerned about the state fire marshal approval?
Well, I'm concerned about what we've got drawn here, that there isn't any other things, we're not close to, we're fairly close to a well, it looks like there's a well field right there. I don't know what the distance is, we go out here and go through all this and it hasn't been inspected. We have a fuel system going close to a well, I think they're supposed
It's
to
a
be.
sprinkler system, that's all it is a sprinkler well.
I don't know that, it just said well house, and all I saw was well house, so I don't know if there's any potable water comes out of that or not, at this point in time.
Sprinkler only.
So, like I said, I would just feel a lot better if somebody would look at that and give it a blessing of some sort rather than just put this out.
do you
This should be a pretty good sized project. To me, I don't think that,
It's
A lot
a
of things-
portable tank.
I understand that. And that's what I'm saying, we got a portable tank. What I'm looking at, I'd really like to see us put something in so we'd have like a car wash facility. We had talked about that at one point, doing something with, so that the guys come in, they can spray the vehicles off, they can do some stuff other than just fuel up out there in a dark hole out there,
Well, there'll be a diking system around it.
No,
Not required. Not required with this type of tank, it's not required, because
Just-
it's a double wall self-contained tank.
So it wouldn't need that, normally we see a retaining wall.
No.
Okay.
This is Seventh Street is a pretty well-traveled road. It's nice, it's right next to our beautiful detention center. I guess I don't want kind of a haphazard looking or poorly designed facility out there. I think we need to do our part to make sure that it looks nice. It's I see that we just have a gravel drive there, a well shed, and a above ground tank.
It's fence.
I guess I would just look for a consensus among the commissioners that we need, maybe just slow down here and think about the big picture of what this project looks like long-term, rather than
I thought when I came to you and we originally discussed this, we discussed all this and everything was all fine with all of you, so.
One of the questions, I guess, that, was on my list was, were we, talking about trying to possibly do something in conjunction with the bus thing?
that's what I was thinking.
But
not-
that's a totally different thing. The buses are taking care of their own thing. The buses are, they're proposing to build a brand new building, new facility, that kind of thing.
I know,
That's the thing that we wanted to do with this. If we put this in here, it would be portable, and if that point in time came, we could move it to where the bus facility was at.
This is just to get us something for right now and start saving some money on some fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many gallon are you looking at in this tank, Jay?
4,000 gallons.
So 4,000, so, your semis are gonna come in with 9,000 to 10,000 gallon loads.
They don't bring semis here.
They what?
They don't bring semis in, they bring single or double axle trucks, that's all.
Wesco brings semis in.
Your semi rate is a lot cheaper than your 4,000 gallon
They can
load.
still get in there.
Pardon?
They can still get in there.
I realize, but you can't, won't do any good to have a 4,000 gallon tank. What I'm saying, it'd be nice if we had a tank big enough to accept a load. When they drop a load, they can take a whole load. I forget have you got quotes on the fuel for a 4,000 gallon load and an 8,000 or 10,000 gallon load?
Steve did, Baird did.
Pardon me?
Steve Baird did when we got this originally.
Okay, so
That
do you
your
have,
original proposal was just what you gave us here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know, and this isn't gonna be a permanent,
No, and they're coming to town not only to deliver to us, they have others they deliver to as well.
okay?
And then we haven't even gone out for bids yet on who's gonna deliver the fuel, so.
And as far as permission or approval, I'm reasonably sure that we need something more than City of Gearing.
Right.
Fire Marshal's office is gonna have to look at it.
I'd like to see something signed off before I approve anything that it's okay. I mean, just,
Well, we're just going out for RFPs right now.
We're going out for bids,
The
just on the
final
tank.
approval is gonna have to come from the state before it even
so
goes to a
then you're
contractor.
okay with doing a change order then? Is that what you're telling me? I think we need approval before we go into bids and then get change orders and all that stuff. That gets really expensive when you go through a change order every time you do that. I'd much rather have the permission and
The
the
state,
okay.
the people I talked to at the state, I told them it's gonna be basically the same thing as what the Nebraska Department of Roads has, which it is.
But it's
They
inside
said
their
they're-
fenced area.
Ours will be in a fence. I wanted to put it in a fence in the back, but the detention center didn't want it, so.
But wouldn't your RFP include permission or approval from the authorities, City of
Yeah, oh,
Gearing
sure.
and both the Fire Marshal's office?
Yeah, that's what it's in this RFP, asking them for licensing when they go out. when they-
But that would be included with,
Right.
with whatever they
with
submit
their
back to
pricing,
us,
yes, with
correct?
their pricing, yes. So, that's what I'm asking. And if you want me to go somewhere else, I mean, I can go look somewhere else, but this is what, the people I've talked to, they said we're good to go until they're ready to fire.
And these people do this sort of thing, so they're, as far as what they're gonna put in is not a,
Right.
and if that will address
I mean, we're going out for bids.
Charlie's
The
concern.
Midwest, the one that did give us the original, estimate bid, they do this all the time, Wesco does it.
We didn't look at any other location but this one, right?
We looked at we looked at being out at the roads department and also that in the back of the bid.
On the
Or-
back,
or
on the backside?
But the detention center suggested they did not wanna do that traffic back there.
Okay.
So would we still be, keeping the tanks at the roads department?
Yes, they're gonna continue to use their tanks for their equipment, and this is just gonna be for sheriff, just for the smaller vehicles, gas only. No diesel, just gas.
Well, I wondered about diesel but I guess if the roads department is the one that uses diesel
Right.
primarily.
Yeah, as far as I know, the sheriff's department, nobody else has any diesel vehicles at this time. Or the buses either, so. We're just looking at gas right now,
So where are the buses getting their fuel at?
co-op. Right, the main co-op plaza. Now,
And they wouldn't be using this facility
yes, they
for?
will.
They will be using it, okay.
Jay, I think,
Sheriff's Detention Center, Building and Grounds, Transit, Assessor, Weed Department, Building and Zoning.
How many gallons a month are we using right now on all those facilities combined?
How many what?
How many gallons a month are we using on those facilities, all of those
About
entities?
6,000.
6 gallons?
6,000.
So wouldn't
Around
we
6,000.
be ahead to at least have that much or more in storage for 30 days? So we have 30 days storage on hand, not half of that or 2/3 of that?
You start,
So at least we
you
can
get
bring
into a bigger
facilities.
tank, you get into more money, and you get into more licensing.
Well, and then once if you have
gotta
an
fill it
issue,
every
you
time.
can always still go back to co-op, right? I guess.
I think, Jay, I think this board has done a disservice to you, and you've put a lot of work into this, and I think this board needs to have a working session on this project alone. I think
You want to table it?
I think we need to table it.
Okay.
No. I guess I was thinking, the only thing that's, I thought, I guess I'll use word surprised me was that I thought our original story was that there was some kind of a possibility of doing something with the bus people.
That's Kurt's dream, yeah. To have a
Okay.
bigger bus facility.
I know.
He's
And
not ready for
He's
it
not
yet.
ready for it, so, but in a year's, it's gonna take over a year, so in a year's time, we're gonna save $100 and some thousand in fuel savings.
Okay.
Or $70,000, I should say.
And so is
Yeah.
is there any concern about timing other than the savings of fuel costs, which we've been doing it this way for however many years? But besides savings of fuel costs, is there any other
Just the cost
reason
of
to
everything going up as it's going up,
inflation in general?
and especially computerized parts. Go ahead, Les.
I just wanna remind you, we've got budget hearings coming up. We've got a week of protest hearings. I don't know when we're gonna fit in a work session on top of, and all he's doing is asking to be able to request bids.
And then the next thing will be requesting to accept bids and then change orders and all that down the line. And I'd rather we would talk about it before we move.
I don't
Yeah,
foresee
because
any change
if
orders.
the scope of the project is greater than what this is, then this RFP is,
I don't see it much greater than what it is. We're doing the rest of the work other than them bringing in the tank.
You were excited about
I-
it 16 months ago.
I don't anticipate what a change order would be. Russ, help me out.
Well, I don't know. When we get a notice from the fire marshal, he says, no, you can't do this, and we have to move, we change, and then the contractor says, okay, that's gonna cost us.
We're
That's
not
where
gonna
the
issue any
contractors-
we're not gonna have a contract until we get an RFP back.
No, that's not right. The way he just explained to me is, we're gonna put out RFPs, we're gonna put out for bids, and then it's up to the contractor to go get the permits and all the stuff from the fire marshal. At that point, when we get the permits from the fire marshal, we have a contract, now we have change orders. It's backwards, we need to come around the other way, we need to have the permits before we ever start this job.
Well, we have to get RFPs to know if it's even feasible.
Yeah, the RFP is gonna include the permission and whatever permits are necessary from the city and the fire marshal's office.
But the contractor goes after those.
Yes.
After we've named a contractor.
But the contractor's not gonna bid anything until he gets permission from the fire marshal's office. That should be included
He's not gonna
in
start.
the
Why would everybody that bid that go get all those permits? The
Yeah, exactly.
guy that we pick as a contractor is gonna go after those permits, not all those other people are. They're gonna do like Jay did, they're gonna call and ask, can we maybe, or whatever.
If
They do it all the time.
if you're the contractor and you're gonna put this system in, you're gonna know that you need to get a permit from the fire marshal's office and put it in according to the
but
rules
if
and
it-
regulations, and it
That's
should
right.
be included in your
But
price.
if it deviates from this plan that we have here, if it deviates from that, then they call that a change
Why
order.
why would it deviate if you went to the fire marshal before you gave us the bid?
They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna go to the fire marshal. The thing is, you're gonna get a bid from a contractor. That contractor that you pick is gonna go to the fire marshal. Not all these people are gonna.
After he bids it?
After you have awarded him the bid, then he goes to the fire marshal. You're not,
I
gonna-
don't- I
not
don't-
everybody's gonna go,
I don't know if
not
that-
everybody goes to the fire marshal for those things. That's up to you. Generally, the engineer takes care of all that, or somebody in-house takes care of those permits prior to bidding that stuff.
Well, you're in the business, I mean,
Well, that's the way we normally run it. I mean, usually.
I know you know what you're doing, but I don't see a contractor bidding it and then going to the fire marshal and saying, is this the right way to do it, and then coming back to the owner saying, hey, I bid this, but I went to the fire marshal, now it's gonna cost you more money.
He's gonna bid it right off that sheet that we give him. We're gonna give him this paper and he's gonna bid it, just like
But-
you got it right there.
But
There
that-
it says, they must get all local
that's
and
what-
federal licensing for 1 year for the place, so I mean,
That's
he has to
after,
prove it
that's after
before,
the contractor's name.
once he
Not
puts
every
his name.
contractor's
Okay.
gonna go get all this licensing before they bid the job. Who would go do that? You
A
have to,
good-
you have
I
to have
think a
ownership
good-
in the project.
I believe a
Correct
good
me if
co-
I'm wrong, Mark.
Well, I think the thought of, what we don't want is for, different people that are gonna give an RFP to be asking the state several different questions, and then they're getting different answers out of the state based upon, I guess, how they ask the questions.
How they
Now, maybe
interpret the bid.
the RFP would, allow that to be specified when they give us their bid back, it would maybe say certain things.
This is gonna be submitted to the state for approval before they bid on it.
I would
That's what
suppose,
I'm asking to have
That-
done.
I would suppose that they'd at least go,
Well,
talk,
but
they'd at
that's what I'm
least get,
saying.
they'd at least talk.
That'll be approved by the state before they give us a bid.
We
So-
need to send it to the state.
Yeah,
the
so,
contractor.
yeah,
Yeah,
you have a good point, but, so we're gonna have 5, 6, maybe 8, maybe only 2
Maybe
different
one, maybe
contractors
one.
contact the state to ask these questions that we could have answered ahead of time.
And then that's all included in our bid packet, that's already been answered, you don't have to mess with that. When we built this bridge over here in Lyman, they went to the game and parks and got permission to put that, box culvert in versus a bridge because it changes the flow of the thing, they had to go to game and parks, you had to go to the state of Nebraska. The engineer took care of all that. Each contractor isn't gonna go do those things for you.
We're gonna have one contractor only,
But we're gonna have multiple contractors bid.
one, well, yeah,
So if everybody who bids has to go ask the state, can I do this? The state's gonna think, what is Scotts Bluff County
We
doing?
don't do that.
They're
It's
gonna
not
look
ran
like,
that
they're
way.
gonna look at us like we're incompetent if we have 10 different contractors asking them if they can do this, when we could have all that lined up for them already.
when I talking to the state fire marshal and to the local fire marshal, they said that these people would take care of it with their bid, when they put them in.
That's after you award the bid.
no, that's before you award the bid.
No. Why would 8 contractors go get permission?
And the only reason I say that is because I used to do it.
You let 8 contractors have permission to do the same job?
They would submit their plans to, okay, I'll just let it go. We'll decide how you wanna do it. It's okay.
Well, and even if this is the plan, which I feel like the scope of the plan is maybe out of sorts as well. So I would like to table this and come together as a board and have a work session on what this project ultimately is. We've seen too many times where the parks in Gearing and the parks in Scotts Bluff have gone through phase 1, gone through phase 2, gone through phase 3, and the public cries because they sawed something and then they paved something and then they build something over here, they build an ice rink and then they tear it down and they build an amphitheater and it's I don't want this project to have multiple phases where we look like fools.
It would look a lot better if we did some projection where it ties in with the bus terminal, wherever it's gonna be located, so it's close to that.
So I guess my motion is to table
Okay, we have a motion to table it. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I think that, what Charlie said in his beginning statement was that, we should have got with Jay quite a bit earlier,
Yes,
and we've done him a disservice
Yep.
in this,
Absolutely.
and
there
that,
you go.
because of that, I'm not
agree with that.
terribly happy with that, and I'm gonna put the blame on us, not on Jay.
Okay, I
And,
agree with that.
But, yeah, it's not fair to let one of our people do what he's went through on this, and then, I mean, I want something that we all can be happy with, and we talked about this a little bit. I know that, this was on the agenda at one point and then taken back off, I thought. And I thought I seen some drawings at that point in time.
You had a presentation.
Right. And so
Yeah, the company was out here.
They were here,
Yeah.
Think
But-
about giving us pricing
and
on
he was
tanks and
told to
meters.
go forth and work towards an RFP,
an RFP.
and he did that.
Was that at a meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They came out and gave us pricing on things, or options on what.
And we saw
Yes, he put
visual
stuff up there.
renditions of what this is gonna look like?
No.
No, it was,
They
it
were
was,
just talking
Okay.
about the
it was at
products
a,
they
it
sell.
was at a,
Or he might
it wasn't at a
have
meeting. I think it
handouts.
was like in the afternoon or something. They were here. Wasn't that correct?
How is it? What's that?
Yeah, it was,
He spoke, but it wasn't a lot. He went over basically the options on tanks.
yeah, we
I
got a
thought he
notice that he was
was.
gonna be here to give a, I don't think that it was at a national meeting. I think there was I think one or two. I wasn't able to be there, but
Maybe that's what.
I don't know.
So it wasn't a commissioner meeting?
No,
Maybe not.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't think so.
One of my requirements is to see what this visually looks like on Seventh Street.
Man, he and Kurt did that. We
This-
put that up on the screen.
When I set it up, it was already on the screen, everything we were gonna do, everything was approved.
Yeah.
I seen a picture of the tank. I've seen that
Picture of the
somewhere.
tank, that's all, basically, a picture of the tank. But I feel we need a bigger tank, and I feel this board needs to discuss how we how to proceed. I don't wanna do it cheap in and cheap out.
Okay.
We're not supplying enough fuel for 30 days for what they need, and I think we should at least supply 30 days of fuel.
Yeah, I think a memo or an email went out to meet with these folks, and I wasn't able to be there, but I don't know who was. I don't know.
Only two of us would have been
Yeah.
able to be there.
Right.
We did it at this meeting after that.
Mm-hmm, yeah, they came to the commissioner.
Okay.
Do we need to prove to you with a date? I can go
No.
back and look.
Oh, that's all right.
Not necessary.
Okay, do I have any other discussion? Hearing none, would you record your votes, please?
The motion is to table, right?
Right.
Okay to close?
Close?
We have 3 yes and 2 no. Yays, Harris, Knapper, Reisig, nays, Meyer, Blue.
Okay. So we'll have to set up a date and go through this again. We'll have to wait till after protests, if that's okay with you. We're gonna be a little busy for a little bit. We'll try to get together and get it all ironed out for you, Jay. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. We'll get it done. Okay. Thanks for your work on it so far. We'll try to get something ironed out for you. Okay, next item is, receive the 2022 fiscal audit and consider action. Kevin, you're up, buddy.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
How are you?
Doing well, how about yourself?
Just peachy.
Thank you.
Looking forward to this.
Well, good.
Do you have one for me?
Happy to be here.
She can,
We did send the PDF electronic copy over to Lisa.
yeah, I do have a PDF.
That's gotten posted to the website now, or will be at some
It will be
point.
put on the website if it isn't already.
At some point. Good afternoon, great to be here. I'm Kevin Sylvester with Dana Cole and Company. Been doing the audit for Scotts Bluff County for a few years now. Quite a few, actually. Lisa's probably a little tired of me these days. But the audit we finished up in May is for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. So we've already started a new fiscal year. Hopefully we can get the new fiscal year all bundled up by Christmas. If you turn back to page 1 in the bound reports that I handed out, it says independent auditors report at the top. And these next few pages, next 3 pages are really what we're hired to do, is come out here, do audit procedures, gather evidence, and that support the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements, and render our report right here. Just going down through this report really quick. First paragraph, we have audited the accompanying cash basis financial statements. Second paragraph, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. Next paragraph down, we conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. Next paragraph down, second sentence there, the financial statements were prepared on the cash basis of accounting. Important to understand the basis of accounting, which is just cash in, cash out for the county. Last paragraph, first sentence, management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements. Top of page 2, our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements. Next section down, in performing our audit, we exercise professional judgment, identify and assess risks of material misstatements, obtain an understanding of internal control, evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies, and conclude about Scotts Bluff County, Nebraska's ability to continue as a going concern for a reasonable period of time. As tax revenues go, they seem to be endless, so we don't have much concern about Scotts Bluff County being in business next year. Down to the other matters, there's some supplementary information also presented in these. On pages 31 through 47, we have some budgetary schedules and the schedule of expenditures federal awards. And on all these schedules, the last paragraph of the first paragraph on page 3, in our opinion, the supplementary information on pages 31 through 47, and the schedule of expenditures of federal awards on page 28 through 30 is fairly stated in all material respects in relation to the basic financial statements as a whole. Last paragraph on page 3, just making the users of the financial statements aware that there is another report that we've issued in conjunction with our audit, our government auditing standards, and that's on page 48. We'll go through that when we get there. Page 4. Actually, pages 4 and 5 are what we call the government-wide statements. The basic financial statements are pages 4 through 8. About 4 or 5 pages there that are the basic financial statements. Back to page 4, just reporting on the cash basis. The county's only asset under the cash basis is cash. $17,577,000 at the end of the year, June 30th, 2022. Net position, there's some restricted net position of about $7.7 million. The details of those restrictions is in note 10 on page 26. Most of that is for ARPA funds that were paid and to be used for ARPA purposes. There's about $3.3 million there as of June 30th, 2022. Page 5. Gotta turn that sideways to kind of get that all taken in. First column there is the presentation from left to right. We present disbursements first. The county had about $27.7 million in total disbursements in all of those functions there. General government, public safety. You can see public safety is the highest function of the county at about $10 million out of the $27 million. There are some charges for services as applicable to each of those functions, some operating grants applicable to each of those functions, and some capital grants were also received during the year. Net disbursements over those program receipts, $16 million. That $16 million has to be paid with some source or another. Most of it's paid with property taxes down below of about $12 million. Total general receipts of $17 million. Change in net position for the year ended June 30th, 2022. $1.3 million for the year. Started the year at $16.2 million. Ended the year at $17.5 million. Page 6. Actually, page 6 and 7 are the fund financial statements. Same presentation basis, cash basis. You can see there all the major funds, general fund and all the major funds, and then a non-major group. non-majors are combined into a single column there. But that breaks it up by fund. You can, but the total governmental funds, 17.5 million, is what we have on the government-wide financial statements. Page 7. Same presentation, by funds and total governmental funds. Total receipts, 29 million. Total disbursements, 27 million. Excess of receipts over disbursements of 1.3 million. Again, starting the year out at 16 million, end of the year at 17.5 million. Page 8. These are the fiduciary fund financial statements. It's just one statement showing the cash at the beginning of the year, receipts and disbursements, disbursements, and cash at the end of the year. Total cash at the end of the year, 3.4 million. Had receipts of 72 million. Had disbursements of about 72 million. And beginning cash, 3.7 million. Those are pretty major categories of receipts and disbursements by entities that the treasurer has that collects tax at her location, and then the county offices which collect some fees at their locations. Page 9, notes to the financial statements. What notes to the financial statements are going to do is they're going to tell the users of these financial statements about the county and its activities. It's going to tell the users about significant accounting policies employed in developing these financial statements, such as cash basis. It's going to give the users of the financial statements details of amounts included in these financial statements. And they're going to give some conditions and events that might be affecting the county and having a financial impact on the county's financial statements. These notes go from page 9 through 27. There's been no real significant changes, although amounts do change, dates change, updating schedules and stuff. No real significant changes there. However, on note 5, if you were to look at that and kind of compare it with the year before, you would see the debt kind of went up probably more than you guys would have expected, and that's really due to the refunding of the old debt and the issuing of the new debt. The way that kind of happened is you issued the new debt in April and then paid the old debt in July. So we've kind of got the same debt on June 30th doubled up. Does that make sense? July 6th. You couldn't have got it done quicker though. So the notes to the financial statements go from page 9 all the way back to page 27. And then on page 28, you have the scheduled expenditures of federal awards. And what this is doing is just showing the disbursements of federal funding by the county for its various programs that it has going and that they receive funding for. The Scotts Bluff County Transit System is actually a federal grant called Formula Grants, about the second one down there. And it had 571,000 total disbursements for the year ended June 30th, 2022. When we measure the amount of work that we have to do on these disbursements of federal funds, there are criteria, and the bigger programs tend to be the higher criteria, sometimes not, and it is on expenditures. Sometimes we have to do more than one because one program isn't big enough or a high enough risk area, so we have to do more than one program. But this year it was just the formula grants or the Scotts Bluff County Public Transit. Page 29. see their total expenditures of federal awards, almost 1.4 million there. Passed through 408, and that was to the Region 22 Emergency Management. All those Homeland Security programs come directly to Scotts Bluff County, and then they're passed through Scotts Bluff County to Region 22. Page 30 are some notes to the financial statements disclosing some required information there. Page 31, this is some more of that supplementary information I mentioned earlier in our report. There's a cash or budget and actual comparison for all of the major funds that we have presented in the fund financial statements, and a non-major combined one with some selected non-major funds presented. Page 41, a little more detail of the general fund by department, budget and actual. They go from page 41 all the way back to page 46. So if you wanted to know exactly where a particular department was, that would help you out there. And then page 47 is the combining schedule of non-major funds with some selected non-major funds presented and in aggregate other non-major funds. So basically, when you look at this, those first four funds, those can and have been major funds in the past. So we try to get those bigger ones presented separately. And then we combine all the other ones. There are some pretty small funds with, a couple $100 coming in and a couple $100 going out that don't make a whole lot of difference on the financial statement basis. Page 48. This is the governmental auditing standards report that I mentioned in our audit report. Government auditing standards requires that as auditors, we report on internal control and on compliance. When we do find things, the bottom of page 48, we identified a certain deficiency in internal control that we consider to be a material weakness as described in the accompanying schedule of findings and question costs of 2022-001 that we consider to be a material weakness. And that's the segregation of duties, segregation of accounting functions that the county has pretty much prevalent through most of its offices, just being everything dispersed throughout the county for this function and that function, the transit out there, all the little offices around the county, veteran service. Their office just isn't big enough to have enough people employed to be doing the kind of total function to authorization, reconciliation, recording. I mean, all those functions should be separate. And when they're not, that's when bad things can happen. Either errors, just normal errors, people overlooking things, or fraud could occur too. If one person's doing all that, or one or very few, well, they can cover their tracks pretty well if they wanted to. Has happened, and I'm going to be very lucky if in my lifetime or my career that I don't see it again. Not here. Well, you guys have had a few problems here over the years. Page 49, top of that page, first paragraph, last sentence, reporting on compliance. The results of our test disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. Page 50. When entities have a significant amount of federal funding for federal purposes that they're conducting, there needs to be what we call a uniform guidance audit. And when that happens, we have a uniform guidance report, which is right here. Uniform guidance is going to make me look at compliance with specific reporting or requirements of grant requirements. In this case, we looked specifically at all the requirements for the transit system. The transit system has been in there before. We've looked at it before. We've seen problems or recommended things in that capacity. And I can say I'm more pleased with it this year. The criteria is reasonable, but some people ask me, is it good? Well, I don't really get to that kind of position on it because you can't really please the auditors, and we just always want something more. We want, it's just kind of that way. But is it reasonable? Yeah. I mean, I think things are working good. We've got some things changed from the last time we looked at this. Got all the payments from the state of Nebraska coming directly to the treasurer now, so it doesn't even go through the transit system at all. And there's a lot of money coming through there. And Heather's much more set up to take that kind of money and get it to the proper funds. And the accounting is tracking things is much better than it was. Just going down through this real quick, I don't want to take up all your afternoon. Top of the page, first paragraph, we've audited Scotts Bluff County, Nebraska's compliance with the major federal programs. Second paragraph, in our opinion, Scotts Bluff County, Nebraska complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements. We conducted our audit of compliance in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards, with government auditing standards, and federal uniform guidance standards. Last paragraph, management is responsible for compliance with these requirements. Top of page 51. Our objectives is to obtain a reasonable assurance about whether material compliance occurred. Middle of the page there, in performing our audits, we exercise professional judgment, identify and assess the risk of material non-compliance, and obtain an understanding of Scotts Bluff County, Nebraska's internal control over compliance. On next section down there, report on internal control over compliance, and top of the next page. Last sentence. We consider the deficiencies in internal control over compliance described in the company's schedule of findings, question, and costs as items 2022-001, to be material weakness. That's the same finding that's in your government auditing standards report. Segregation of duties will affect the federal compliance requirements, just like it does the financial statements. That's pretty much that on there. Page 53, top of the page, this is the schedule of findings and question costs. Section 1, there's a couple sections here. Section 1 is the summary of auditor results. This is basically everything that we've already have in the financial statements. I kind of call this the federal government's cheat sheet. When we send this to them, which we do after we get done with the audit, send this to them, I can imagine they just put all this, turn all this over and go right back to this sheet and say, oh, okay, this is what they have. It does identify the major programs, which you see down there, formula grants for rural areas, 20.509.
Just a minute.
Bus or transit system? Yeah.
Can you explain to me, that you have, material weaknesses identified? How does that, explain that to me?
The material weakness identified is that segregation of duties.
Okay.
And it's a level. Material weakness is a higher level seriousness than a significant deficiency. As I've kind of explained on that segregation of duties, when one person can write the check, offer, or determine what they're gonna buy, reconcile the bank account, record the transactions, well, they're doing all the accounting, and nobody's looking over their
So
shoulder.
there's no-
Nobody's authorizing it, Nobody's okaying it, nobody's even reviewing it afterwards. It's really all on them.
Okay. You had talked about that last year, I believe.
I talk about it every year. I hope you guys talk about it from time to time too, because, you know, when things happen, you know, people ask, well, where was the auditor? And I can guarantee you, I'm gonna be over in my office
You
when
won't
these
be over
things
here
happen.
signing checks?
I'm not the person that looks over the shoulder. I'm the auditor. I'm telling you, there's this condition, and I'm telling you, things happen.
Do you have that
Have
called out and
happened and
identified?
will
Do you have that identified in an action plan of any sort for us?
Lisa
Last page.
does a corrective action plan, which
Last
she
page.
elegantly responds to the federal government now wants the audit entity to acknowledge the problem and give them some kind of idea of what's gonna be done about it. In Scotts Bluff counties, we'll kind of go through that a little bit, but, yeah, let's just turn back there real quick. It's on, well, it's about the last page. There's the corrective action plan, and basically Lisa's saying that, hey, you know, the way that the county government's set up, you've got, you know, several little offices, and some, you know, you get smaller in Scotts Bluff County, you got one-man offices. That's it, you know, I mean, tell me there's segregation of duties there.
You got that
It's
right.
not happening.
You're right.
You know, but as the ways and means go, I feel like, and again, you can't ever please the auditor. I mean, our expectations are up here. I mean, you're not
Which-
gonna get there. So I have to kinda come down here and say, well, what is it reasonable? But I do see individual offices doing, most, you know, the best that they can do with the manpower that they got and the things. I mean, it's, again, it's not gonna be perfect in my eyes. My eyes are gonna say, hey, Lisa, go over there and
Well,
do their reconciliation for them, where
Basically,
she
what-
doesn't have any other
right,
responsibility.
basically, you don't even write checks, everything's transferred, wire transfer to different accounts and different things, basically. So
Yeah.
how do you sign off? That doesn't, each item doesn't get signed on that, does it? It's wire transfer.
We don't even wire transfer much. Heather might do a little bit in her office.
Well, no, I meant the payroll. I mean, the payroll all gets sent to, right, to deposit,
Payroll,
direct
all the
deposit.
taxing authorities that get paid.
I don't even know. I think they write a check and take it down, but that would be Kelly to answer that.
Kelly does that.
I can't hear you, so I didn't hear your question.
I said, so you direct deposit, do you wire transfer the money, or do you take the checks and hand deliver those?
For payroll.
Payroll checks.
EFT.
I think she writes a check, gives it to
There's
Heather.
a
and doesn't-
lump sum check written that equals what the
The amount.
paychecks are. Is that
Do they
your-
get-
All the
We
pays
went to
electronic.
all direct deposit on everybody. I know we were sitting there for a while, we had like 3 people weren't accepting direct deposit, but now you've got everybody on board.
Yes.
So how do they
We
transfer, how do
got
you get the
everybody,
people,
yeah.
how do you get the money to that account? Is it hand delivered with a check, or is it a wire transfer? That's my question.
It,
ACH.
that's a word I can't think of. The initials, ACH.
The bank initiates to the employee, but from her account, the payroll clerk
We
goes and
drop it
takes a
to
check.
our bank, and then they release it to all of the employee banks.
Yeah.
And then all the employee banks releases the money to the employees.
Okay, I guess what his question is, how many people are signing off on that check?
There's really just, I can answer that. That's a long question.
Okay.
And it's just not that simple, but every department, you know, they have somebody in charge, and it might be only 2 people.
Mhm.
And, you know, the department heads are signing off on their timesheets too.
The person that's doing the payroll is not reconciling my payroll checking account,
Okay,
if that is part of your question as well.
no, I'm just, cause you were saying we needed to reconcile, we need to have more than one signature on the checks, is what you told me 5 minutes ago.
Right. Well, you know,
Basically.
I'm not, you know, sometimes you're not gonna get that, cause you don't put the, you know, the secretary's signature on the check. I mean, you know, you just don't do that stuff.
Right.
But having somebody, if she's gonna be recording all of it and have control of the checks, you know, and be able to order things and pay for things and, you know, it's complicated.
I wanna find out what you need to become compliant, make us compliant
I-
on your end so that we can
Good, that's a
become
good question.
compliant.
Like I said, I mean, the bar is pretty high on, for the auditor. But, what's reasonable? As Scotts Bluff County gets bigger, well, more people will work in these offices, and some of this stuff can, be better. But do I see anytime soon that Scotts Bluff County as a whole could reasonably get rid of this? Not really, not probably in the next 10 years.
So then
I
it's
mean,
not a big concern to you at this point.
Well, no, I want you,
So
I
you
want you
gotta
to be
tell me, you gotta
concerned
get me on a
every
line
day.
and keep me on one line, you can't jump me off of one and then the other.
Okay, I want you to be concerned every day. I mean, you guys are the eyes and ears of what's going on. And, you know what you guys should be paying for and what you shouldn't be paying for. But
There's
these
no
little
way.
offices, you get some reports from some and probably don't from some. But when you see something that doesn't look right, ask good questions about it. Your oversight is imperative in this control process. And that's what I hope to do, is just raise your awareness.
That's what you've done.
Well, good, good. So hopefully I've answered your question.
Okay.
So there are a few things I need to communicate to the board. Also, we do that in writing. I've got a letter here. I can call that the, just blanket standard report that says there's not much here. But there are two things I'd like to communicate. One is estimates in the financial statements. And really, on a cash basis, the only estimates in there are the budget amounts and the budgetary comparison schedules. Also, note 5 of the financial statements, making you aware of the most significant or more significant notes in the financial statements. Note 5 deals with debt and debt service requirements, and that's a pretty significant note for the county. And I will give this copy, I think I sent you a PDF copy of this, but here's
The
this
letter?
copy also,
All right.
paper copy. And I will get out of here.
I have one question for you,
Okay.
Kevin. Looking through this, I see two signatures. One of Lisa's and one of Dana Cole.
Yep.
I don't see your signature anywhere on any document.
That's how we sign it, that's how most CPA firms sign it.
Is that-
They don't sign it
okay.
as
Signs
partners.
You sign this.
I sign the letter, but not our audit reports.
Okay, and the only reason I ask in light of recent things that have happened. So you are responsible for anything that happens in Dana Cole as far as this report is concerned?
For anything that happens
Well,
at
I'm
Dana
not-
Cole?
No, I'm talking about as far as this report is concerned.
Yeah, I'm the managing partner on that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Or I'm the partner in charge of this audit, yeah.
Okay,
I'm not sure what you were referring to in recent, in light of recent events.
not with Dana Cole, but
Oh.
there have been some stuff. And so
You know, I
if something
kinda-
were to happen, could we say, well, Kevin just did this, well, how do you know?
Oh, I know you'll call me. That's just the way.
You're on my speed dial. No, I was
Did
just
I give you my number?
I was just wondering, cause I only see two signatures, Dana Cole and Lisa's.
Yeah.
I don't see that yours is on there anywhere,
Yeah.
and I don't know whether that's standard practice or not.
That's why we go through these. It's
Yeah.
important to understand what we're doing. We're not looking at every transaction.
Yeah.
I wanna point out I sometimes highlight this when I think the board needs to kinda hear this, but in page 2, top of the page, I think it is the second sentence, just talking about us obtaining reasonable assurance, and then it goes on to say, reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but not absolute assurance.
Sure,
It's just not a guarantee.
no,
It's not a warranty.
I understand, yeah.
We do our work, we stand behind our work, but that doesn't mean it's 100%.
Yeah.
We can't audit 100% of everything.
You do a sampling is all you're
Yeah, we
auditing.
do samplings. We look at controls, and and when those controls are good, we say the controls should find most of what what could go wrong, and we're testing whether any of it did go wrong.
Yeah, when you
Of
go-
the sample.
It's basically pretty simple. When you get through all the budgets and all the numbers come to the tail end and the money's still there, it's usually a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at the end, you know, when we're looking at your financial statements, I have a pretty strong, I mean, not absolute, but I have a pretty strong, evidence that you have $17.5 million in your bank as of June 30th. Now, because I confirmed that with your financial institutions.
But you also said we had some doubled up money in there too on the loans and things.
Oh, no, that's the debt. That's the debt.
okay.
You have two outstanding debts.
Okay,
You got, basically issued a debt so you could pay this old debt, and really no cash.
well, one washes out the other, but
Yeah, one's gonna wash out
doesn't-
the other,
it
but they
doesn't-
were still open, both of them were open as of June 30th.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
his name's on the letter, so we still
I
have
got,
him.
I got a couple
Oh
questions
my
for you.
goodness.
Mark has
We're
one.
gonna start charging you guys
Yeah.
by the question.
You're not getting out of here unscathed.
I know, you guys are after me tonight.
So the ARPA funds, and maybe this is a good question for Lisa, but, so we had 6 million in ARPA that we were gonna receive. And how much have we received? All
We've-
6?
We've received it all, but as of June 30th, 2022.
I know, this was back
we- Yeah, we had received half of it one year, half the next year, and I believe the last installment came in about August, would you agree? August, September, something like that. Yeah, it
of
just came.
23,
Yeah,
right, so it doesn't show up yet, and,
as of yeah,
So you
oh
gotta-
yeah,
you gotta-
22, so it didn't show up in this. We got the first half in this and the,
yeah, and
Or
so like
before.
August of 2022, which will be in next
Next
year's
year's
audit,
audit. Okay.
you'll see
Is
the
when we'll
full,
see those
the whole
numbers.
thing.
alright. So,
Makes more sense.
the, when we look at net funds or net balances that we started with versus net balances that we ended with, what are those numbers? You said 17
If
point,
you look on page 5, and I think when you're saying net balances, I think you're saying cash, cause that's the only thing we're really measuring on
No.
a cash basis.
mhm,
You can see right at the bottom, it says net position beginning of the year 16,223,407. That was the cash that you had on had as of June 30th, 2021,
and now we have 17.
and now you have 17,577,116. Yeah.
So certainly that has went up $1 million basically.
Yeah,
in that neighborhood.
1,353,709.
Okay. And then, one of the things that, I remember, I don't know that it happened when you started this audit, but maybe the year before, one of the things I liked was that I believe you called each county commissioner and you said, we're getting ready to start the audit process. Do you have any concerns? You have anything that you want me to know before I even start this process? I think that's a good phone call to make.
But this year
and-
he
I
got it,
think-
this year he got it, right?
Oh.
And Ken got
I
it.
didn't get it.
So
Yes,
maybe,
you did.
maybe it's not to all 5, but maybe a couple
It's
of
been
them.
a while. Yeah, we don't
So-
call all of them.
All right,
I mean,
well,
yeah, we had, you know, there's only, like, again, we have to kinda pick and choose what we're
Right.
gonna do.
Well,
It's
and I
an audit.
understand. And
And
I
we try
appreciate
to-
you-
We'll probably get Mike here next
yeah,
week.
he needs to get it the next time. So anyway, I appreciate you doing that when you do it, with at least 2 commissioners and whatever else that you end up doing. So I appreciate that. I understand that the separation and the, that, and on the great big scale of, Heather being the person that takes in the money and Kelly spends all the money and, to that extent, that
With
big
your approval,
separation,
Mary.
yeah, that big separation we kind of have, but there's a whole lot of little non-separations. And some of those things
Well,
that I have the
I
biggest concern
say
about.
that, I
Uh-huh.
say that, but, and I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to pick on you.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean,
Sure.
it's like, you know, could we have better separation? Yeah.
Sure,
Might
Right.
cost
Probably
more.
in every
Yeah,
department.
Might cost more.
right. And I think that, yeah, we probably, from the commissioner's standpoint, haven't, been thinking of adding people to specifically try and do that. Although I do see, as I look at some of the other, sometimes I believe it's other counties, maybe even in Nebraska, maybe otherwise, that sometimes they've had one additional person, possibly we would call it maybe in Elise's office, that is, that looks for those things. But my
Well,
biggest issue is this, and I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again, and that's those small checking accounts in some departments. Those checking accounts where they take in their own money and they write checks out of that checking account. And I have some, it again goes back to that separation, but, those, as far as I know, don't get looked at very often, if ever. Now, are you, I'm assuming that you don't look at each and every one of those small checkbooks.
I'm not gonna tell you that I do look at them, but I do get,
Yeah,
pretty much
he
the
does.
copies of the bank statements for at least the end of the year. I get a summary, I mean, I'd like to get better summaries or something, but sometimes I have to kinda get it myself.
Yeah.
Which takes time, but I do get information on pretty much all of them.
That's good, because I
But
believe
that
those
doesn't mean that
are.
there can't be some problems in that
No, I understand.
information.
My only concern is that, those seem to be the places where we have the most vulnerability. And
Well-
that, they don't get the scrutiny, so to speak, as what the big accounts do.
The conversation that you
Well,
and I
some
had,
of those small
yeah,
offices aren't so small.
Yeah,
I mean, there's some money running through those
right.
things.
the conversation you and I had was on one of those smaller accounts.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's exactly
we
right.
did.
And so,
Mark, if you turn back to page 8, that held by county offices, you can see how small some of those accounts are. And you can see the amount of money coming through, coming and going. Some of them ain't so small.
right.
Can I point something out just from our packet today with my office as the example? Okay, so you get the revenues. It's a report run from Heather's office.
And that's a better report than what we used to get, I like that.
Of that,
Those
Just-
revenues,
okay.
that
And
changed.
I've been asking for, from Mix, my programmers, I'd like to be able to run that just for the county funds, so that you had a better idea of what was in the specific county funds, instead of adding all the schools and everything else.
But we certainly have more information than what we used to.
Okay, so also within your packet is a report from my office of what we collected.
Yeah, I know I have your,
So what came into my office
oh, yeah,
went to the treasurer's office.
right. And the
Those
same thing
numbers
with
match.
Register of Deeds and,
I would
That-
assume so. That's
they
the
give you-
that's the purpose of the revenues to you, and that's why we write you the reports.
right. And I think those funds that are going directly over into Heather's office, those are the ones I'm probably less concerned about. It's those ones that money comes in to a department, they write the check in their department, and it never goes through Heather's office. Go ahead.
And I was
That,
just
that,
gonna.
that I would have a very high concern about, but all of, if it is fees, it should all go to Heather.
Right.
Now, I've been here around here for a long time, and I have had and say, well, I need a vehicle. They're writing a check for the vehicle, circumvented your guys' authority. That's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
I was gonna say, one of the biggest departments that had previously had all the money coming to them was the transit department.
Which one?
The transit department.
Transit?
And transit's money does now come through me, the only thing they bring me is the cash that they take from
those revenues are showing up here now on this list, right?
Yes, that was a big,
That was the
big
big
thing.
one.
That was really good. The
Right.
federal money was going to another little account, no longer happening, coming right to the treasury.
Right. So again, there could be some other broader things, but I just will say that those are always on my mind as being the most concerning accounts, is if we have those, and if we have small offices, receiving cash, or small offices with only one or two people and only one person's really responsible, that's where whatever separation we can have is good. I don't wanna say we don't trust anybody, but the fact is, those are the locations where we're vulnerable. And so we need to just be careful
Yes, for
with
the
those.
most part, but, you know, if you send me your email, I'll send you all kinds of stuff from other counties that things went bad, you know,
Right.
in the big offices.
Right,
you know,
less likely, less likely to, I mean, it can happen, but it's less likely.
I'd say there's at least a better chance of discovering those things.
Right. So I think I only have one, what I heard you say was that we're in compliance, but we still have the issue of the significant concern of the separation.
Yeah,
And we'll continue to work on that. I see Lisa has her plan, or a plan to help deal with that, and we need to just continue to be sure that,
Ask questions.
we're working on it,
Yeah, just always ask questions.
right, so,
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
I appreciate the board's interest in that. It's somewhat comforting to know that I'm not just gonna walk out of here and you guys are gonna throw that to the floor and forget all about it.
We do look at it, Kevin.
Right, we do appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thank
And
you, Kevin. Good job.
I'll just say one other thing on my list that I didn't mention yet, but if we ever can get this a day or two or three or four in advance,
Oh, I had it 2-3 weeks ago, sorry.
They've been great.
I like that.
Oh.
I would look
didn't
at it. Sometimes, I know sometimes we don't, but
I
I
that's
would
my
generally
fail.
look at
My
it.
fail. I didn't
Alright,
give it
no
to
problem.
Kelly. I didn't give it to you.
Right.
It's with the APA.
Yeah.
It's
APA
on the, I
got it.
just looked it up.
You
It's
can look it
there.
up online.
yeah,
Yeah.
alright, so I just mentioned that.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Thanks, Kevin. Next item is discuss and consider action regarding, anybody need to take a break?
Yes.
All right, let's do a quick 5-minute break and then we'll come back on this one, I'm sorry.
And, well, I guess before we break, I forgot to remove Captain Wasson from the agenda at the beginning.
Is he, oh, we're not gonna discuss it?
He's not.
Okay, then after that, we will move on to Sheriff Overman.
I apologize.
Yeah, good, that gives us time for a break.
Yeah, let's do it. Russ, what I was gonna say and I didn't finish, I was the delegated authority for the fire marshal's office for 20 years. Just
Added
get the
floating
recording
holiday.
started, then we'll go. Okay, let's keep her moving. Next on the stage, for your dining pleasure, discuss and consider action regarding proposed contract between Scotts Bluff County and the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 41. Sheriff Overman. You're
Good
up.
afternoon. So, the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 41 is basically everyone that works at the Sheriff's Department. That does not include me or the Chief Deputy. So, we have 1 lieutenant, we have 3 sergeants, and then everyone else is a deputy sheriff, or we also have some secretaries and civil process server and
Courthouse.
a courthouse security person, and they pretty much, those civil process and courthouse security pretty much fall under the secretary's pay scale. Everybody else is under a deputy sheriff or sergeant or lieutenant. So what we did this year, typically in these union negotiations, the union makes a request to adjust their circumstances and pay. And so and this year it came down to really one issue and one issue only, and it was wages. And so in the back and forth that we do, I think we all understand, and you guys all understand now, how we set wages in the state of Nebraska, and you contracted with Mr. Essman to do a really comprehensive wage study. So we start with that, and the union knows that we start with that. And so what we do is we survey the other entities that are comparable to us. And Mr. Essman told you who they were, and that's who we use. They are counties that are no more than twice our size, no less than half our size, and none of them are in a metropolitan area. And so those were the ones that we used, and when we compared notes with the union and their attorney, and Lisa and her staff and Troy had done a lot of research as well, and the numbers all matched. And so what we strive for is comparability, and we understand that that's what the CIR goes by, is comparability. And so what I can tell you is that law enforcement compensation in this country and in this state has gone up dramatically. Our deputies had signed a 3-year contract. They called for 3%, and they were 3% a year, and they were under that contract. And when they got their 3% last year, they were quite a ways behind. They understood that, but they signed a contract, so they waited till this year. And so what's new in this contract is the wages, and you have those in front of you, and that's basically purely based on the comparability that we've used. And the only other changes is we changed the language in the contract to reflect holidays the same as everyone else in the county. Took away Arbor Day, added Juneteenth, added a floating holiday, so everybody in the county, including the unions, are under the same thing. Cellular telephones, we were reimbursing everybody for cellular telephone, and we approached you a couple of years ago, I think, about issuing phones to our guys, and the net increase to the county is about $14 a month. We were giving them $26 a month to help subsidize their phone bill, and we have provided them all now with AT&T FirstNet phones, and the cost to the county is $40 a month for those, no taxes, and the phones were basically free, or we might have paid $1 for them. So we think that's a more secure method of dealing with things, far more secure, rather than having them, accidentally use their personal phone for business. We didn't want them using personal phones for business, but phones are just part of the fabric of what we do now. So those phones are pretty much out there. So now it was in the contract that we'd reimburse them. Now it's in the contract that we're not going to reimburse them, and we haven't been anyway for several months. When we issued those phones, we had them all sign a disclaimer, we're not going to reimburse you anymore, and they all signed it. There was no problem with that. And so basically that's it. That's the only changes. So the numbers are in front of you. I know that Lisa, the entire survey is available to you. We've shared that with you in an executive session. Lisa's got it, I've got it, if anybody wants to look at it. I believe you have copies of it. I think we gave you copies of it the last time. So it's a 3-year contract, but there's an opener for wages, because nobody knows what's going to happen to wages. And of course, they don't want to be in the same position they were in, where they were at one point 20% behind one of the local agencies.
Does this let them open at any time they want?
No,
Just a one-time
Once a year.
review?
once a year.
And
On the
Once a year?
anniversary. So next year prior to July, and that's when people get raises, and so they'll know what's going on. We can all look at the inflation numbers and kind of know what's going on, but law enforcement wages, that's something that I'm pretty much in tune to, because I get a lot of emails from different places telling me about that, and I see a lot of recruiting things, and there are, so just to put this in context, the sheriff's department is fully staffed now. And the jail is fully staffed now. The jail's a different contract. But the guy from the state of Nebraska that came out and did our jail inspection asked me those questions. You know, how's your staffing? I said, well, we're fully staffed here. And how's your staffing in the sheriff's office? Well, we're fully staffed here. And so he said, I inspect 70 jails, and I've literally not heard that anywhere. So we've got a good crew of people, and they like what they do, and I think that they like working for the county. And we haven't had labor problems to speak of, you know, for a long, long time. But you know, it's about fairness, and we understand what the fairness is because the state has told us what it is. It's you do this, and so they haven't come to us, you know, recently with some long list of things they want to change in the contract. So it's really simple. This year it's just eliminating the disparity that they had that was caused by that 3-year contract.
So the wage contract is only good for 1 year, basically, is what you're saying.
This wage contract is good for 1 year. That's correct. And that's really common. And I can tell you in all the wage contracts that I know about that are getting signed this year, that's the norm, because nobody knows what's happening with inflation. And some of these places have gone, I mean, I could sit here and tell you stories about it, you know, and it's some of them are in Nebraska and around Nebraska, but everybody, if you look at the entire panhandle, I don't know agencies are full. Can't name one. You know, some of our neighbors in the panhandle have given huge raises to small departments just to get anybody to come. And with the huge raises, they're getting some to come. They've done the same thing in Colorado and Wyoming, coast to coast. You know, I'm familiar with Houston and what's going on. I'm familiar with Colorado, Denver area, not the Denver area, the Front Range. I've seen what's happening because I see their ads. I see ads for some of these communities on Facebook, and they're saying we want to hire officers. And you saw the state patrol sign a record increase, and they still can't hire. Omaha, I think Omaha gave every officer across the board $10,000 increase. Yeah, Lincoln's gone way up at just everybody.
So I have a question, this part about, call-out pay is highlighted, is that new?
No,
We had that before.
no, that's always been, we've
Okay.
always
Alright.
had on-call pay.
Okay.
And so, no, none of that changed.
Okay.
That's just been standard since I've been here.
He's looking at
The
that.
blue
He's looking at
highlighted
this in the
line,
Yeah.
blue. Highlighted blue.
The line across.
They get
Yeah,
extra
that's,
21 cents now.
that one particular thing has always been in our
it's been
contract.
in there, okay.
They call that pay, and they just get paid, yes, if they get called out, but every employee I have except the part-time ones, everybody that wears the uniform is on call at various times,
Sure.
and they get called.
Cause we don't staff 24 hours a day,
We don't,
and,
between 2 and 6, we're not staffed,
right,
and so that's the on-call thing.
right,
If you go
And then-
home at 2,
right,
you're on call till 4.
yeah.
You go to work at 6, you go on call.
And I understand that a little bit, I don't understand it much if it ultimately gives them overtime pay.
Right.
I don't understand it at that point, but if they've already had it, I'm not gonna argue about it.
Yeah, it's been, that was here before I came.
Okay,
But that's only if they're called out, right?
Well, no, they always, see, and we include that, they get 21 cents an hour, now I don't know when that started. And so, all of them, all the union members, the sworn full-time deputy sheriffs, they get 21 cents an hour but we build that into the comparability. And so, it's not like, oh, this is comparable, plus you get 21 cents, it's all built in. And so we're looking at that.
Okay, let me be sure I understood what you just said. You're saying they only get that 21 cents if they get called out?
No, they get it all the time.
They get it all
All
the
the
time
time.
because they're potentially on call?
Because that's something they negotiated a long time ago, you're gonna pay us extra to be on call.
Well,
So
they
they
just don't-
negotiated 21 cents an hour.
Well, I don't know why, again,
And
I
then,
don't know why we do that, I don't know why we call it that, I don't know why let's just call a spade and call it what it is, and let's tell people what we pay them and leave it at that in the future, but I'm not gonna worry about it. I don't think it needs to be called out as something separate,
okay,
you know. Again, it's
Well,
all
that's-
those little things that
so that's
that
something
they
that,
like to put
yeah,
so that it convolutes the process and it's hard to compare apples to apples and all of
Right.
that, and that's what happens because of these things.
right,
And I don't like it.
so,
You end up over
It is-
budgeting for that.
Well, it is what it is, and let's just call it what it is in the future, but I don't mean this right now future.
right, so next year, if they ask to negotiate again,
Right.
we can put that.
Right,
on
and
the
I don't
table.
even have a problem with the 21 cents in there. My issue is that we try and call it something different,
All right,
okay? And I don't like that.
Okay. I need a motion to either approve or reject, the Scotts Bluff County Sheriff Union contract proposal given to us this evening.
I move that we approve the contract as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please record your votes.
Okay to close?
Close.
And you have 5 yeses?
Thank you.
thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Chairman Meyer, in case people didn't hear, I had failed to remove the Zerker discussion at the beginning of the meeting, and I'd shut
Okay.
my recorder off, so I didn't know if everybody heard that I.
Okay, yeah, so we
Okay.
will not have,
Thank you.
discuss, consider action on the Central Square Zercher technology. We'll be moving on then to receive the IT update and consider action from Mr. Lynn, from Bytes Chief Operation Officer.
Good
Okay.
evening, gentlemen. Just kind of want to talk about, it's been a few months since I've been here, want to talk about what projects, a couple of projects that we had this past quarter and what's looking like for this next quarter, so you guys are kind of aware. One thing that we did this last quarter was the panic button solution for the comm center. As you guys have heard before, the old button solution, sometimes people say it take a minute for somebody to press the button to identify where that user was and to be able to get somebody out there and to respond to that. The new solution has been put in place. It's at the detention center, it's here, the courthouse, and right now it averages less than 2 seconds for somebody to press a button, gets identified in the comm center, pops it up to say, hey, there's an issue here, send out somebody to a deputy, or even the person at the courthouse is reviewing that dashboard to make sure that they can respond to an incident. So that's gone in place.
That's this thing that's right here.
Yeah, it should be, yes. So that's approved and tested, it's up and operational. You guys have any questions on that one? MFAX, so MFAX is your guys' new digital fax solution. Previously, you guys were all analog, so old plain old telephone service lines plugged into a server. We're looking at upgrading your ShoreTel system and working with a vendor. They said if we were to get rid of all the analog lines, it saves money not only on equipment, but as far as the project is to convert those, from analog to analog again, it'd be better to go digital. So John worked really hard with, I think all the departments now are off of that. Maybe communication has one standalone line that they need, but they've been moved off to a digital solution so they can use a web browser now to fax from that, so they can take a PDF, upload it, and just send it out, and also receive faxes via email, right into their inbox. So they don't have to use a fax machine.
But they still
traditional
dial
typing.
our fax number
Correct,
on the
yeah,
other
those
end.
fax numbers have all been ported, so if they belong to Allo, they now belong to this Infax company, we ported all those numbers in, so nothing changed for the end user, to fax in. So that stuff has been, up and operational, and that'll allow us again for this next quarter that we're in now, to move forward with the ShoreTel upgrade. Moving into this third quarter, you guys have probably seen some emails, hopefully, that on the 26th, we will begin the 365 migration.
I was gonna ask you about that. I didn't know if that was legitimate or not.
Yeah.
So I didn't I didn't respond to it.
Yep, so it is. So it's just basically asking for access to the account so we can log in.
Okay.
It's gonna take these next week or so to take all your emails.
I'll respond
Yeah,
to it then.
so go ahead and enter your password in, and it's okay. I did tell John to send something out. I said, because we've trained everybody, don't click on these, don't put your password in, and now we're sitting on an email to get that in.
Now
So,
I have to figure out, now I have
Yeah.
to figure out
Correct.
what my password is.
yeah.
I
If
don't.
you need some help, let us know. But that will take place. I know there's protests going on. We had originally scheduled for that Monday and Tuesday, but I know I'm hearing it's gonna be a busy day for everyone, so we moved that to Wednesday. And we are going to have a room in the basement dedicated to, we'll have some additional staff here, John, and probably 2 or 3 other people here. That way, if people have issues with their phones, their iPads, their workstations, they'll be able to call in and get somebody right away to come up to their desk and assist them with that migration, and make sure it goes smoothly for them. So we'll have a team here for a couple of days, to make sure that all goes smoothly and everybody gets their questions answered.
You just won't quit messing with me, will you?
No, specifically just for you, I made sure.
I know.
Any questions on that? So that will be taking place, and again, that's gonna get you guys access to more of your Office 365 apps, as well as Teams, so those are things that we'll grow into over the quarter, showing people how you can use Teams for inter-office communication and things like that. And also, everybody's gonna have now an updated version of Outlook, Excel, Word, and it's always gonna be updated and always gonna be up to date, cause it's through the cloud and through 365. So that'll be coming that week.
So John knows, but we'll all be here the rest of the week, all day, so if there's authentication that has to happen, like I got my push notification for the Office 365 on my phone, but if we need help doing that, we'll all be here, so
Okay.
probably be a good time to get with us, get
Yeah,
with
we'll
all
stop
of
up
us.
and make a special trip. Host replacements. So, as you guys are aware, you guys are on a hosted hybrid agreement with Bytes, where we provide some of the infrastructure, for your environment. This next quarter, we're gonna be replacing 3 hosts here, 2 at the main facility here and 1 at the detention center. And what that does is you guys have 50+ servers running in your environment, and that equipment has now aged out. And so we'll replace that equipment, and it hosts all the computing power and all the memory for all those servers to run on. And so again, that stuff's aged out, and now it'll be all brand new and be replaced, and it's gonna be faster and better and able to expand more if we need it. So that's happening. We're anticipating the equipment to be here in the next couple weeks, and I would say 30 days after that, we'll be having you guys on brand new equipment for your data center. Any questions there? One other thing that's happening over at the courthouse is the courtrooms, where, CTI is involved in upgrading the district courtrooms across the state of Nebraska. And it's something, they just have a timeline going on, and they've reached out to, I believe, Darla, to get, some time when the courtroom will be free. But they're gonna come in and revamp those rooms over there, new projectors, new microphones, new witness stand, communication devices. So that's all happening and all being provided by, the state of Nebraska, and CTI is coming in to install that. And we'll be there with them to make sure it gets installed correctly and to make sure that, we're up to all the training standards that they have. They're still gonna take care of it, but since they don't have anybody directly here, they might reach out to us from time to time to say, hey, something needs replaced, or we need a body down there to look at that. And we have John today, so John can run down there quickly and take a look at that.
And Chris, the way I understand that is that they're gonna take care of those costs basically 5 years, and then after that, then we'll bear those costs,
Yes, I believe
is
it's
that
a
right?
5-year deal, yes.
Okay.
Don't know what that looks like yet, but we're supposed to get a turnover document at the end. I know what I think we have some numbers, I don't recall them off the top of my head on what that's costing them today, but I'll be able to get that, share that with you guys after that project is complete. And that's really what we have, going on this next quarter, so any questions, comments?
Could you,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna have him, Chris, I was gonna have you touch on the incident this weekend with the outage in the server room and,
Okay, so what I've gathered today is, there was a power outage in Gearing. I'm not sure what the root cause it was for Gearing, but it was quite a, when I came across the bridge, it was those stoplights all the way, at least up to the courthouse here, was just black everywhere. It was a blackout, so.
And I'm clear that way and it was.
Yeah, so it was service impacting a large area. We got a notification that the UPS was running on battery power. And so we had made a call to the communications center to ask if they were on generator, and they responded that they were. At that time, we thought, okay, generator's running. We checked in a few minutes later and noticed that the UPS battery time was like, hey, I only have 15 minutes left of battery, and you were at 20 minutes. And we're like, okay, so something the generator must not have kicked on. I know we reached out to Jay and Eric Grant to let them know that this was happening. And so, unfortunately, nobody got here quite in time to get the generator kicked on. And so the UPS ran out of battery and it shut down the server room. And I was telling Charlie earlier that this is probably the third or fourth time that that's happened. There's been a number of instances that caused that. One time, the UPS that we used to have at the facility is just old, and we realized it failed. The second time, Robinson Electric came in and installed the UPS, but there was a connection that it looked like it was connected, but once it took power, it dropped the connection. And so the UPS didn't sustain long enough for the generator to kick on. The third time, the generator didn't kick on at all, and we had to manually come down and power it on. And then this fourth time again, from what I heard this morning from Tyler Rexis, the root cause was that maintenance was involved, not internal maintenance, but I believe somebody from the generator company came in to do some maintenance, and they left it in bypass
Didn't turn
mode.
their switch on, didn't kick the
Correct.
bypass back
Yep,
on.
and so,
I've heard that happen a lot.
yep, and so, just a mistake somebody made not to switch it back over. And so when the power went out, the UPS held its own for as long as it could, but the generator never kicked on until somebody came down and manually turned it on.
That concerns me.
Yep,
That is, that's a big
It
deal.
really concerns me
so-
that we have a communication system that is down because we didn't plug something in.
We just,
I don't mean to make it simplistic, but
yes, and so.
that's what's going on. We need something different, and I don't know what that different is.
So we thought about that. I know that there is a new generator coming in. I don't know when, maybe a year or two out. I don't know if it's sooner or later. But I believe we're gonna have a new generator installed out here on this pad or something John has talked about.
And how old is this generator?
I don't know.
age doesn't really matter. What the problem is, there's a switch you turn to read, to line everything. After maintenance, you start switch. They don't want that generator to come on when the oil's out of the motor in case someone kick in. Those guys are supposed to kick in, but we also have maintenance people that should be checking that as well. That needs to be checked,
it
and
does.
something signed off on, that they've checked it every 30 days or 2 weeks or whatever.
Jay said he did check it last Tuesday and it was working.
Yeah,
fine.
Tuesday, they do a generator test on Tuesdays, and so far we have not had this happen, so I believe,
Right, I think what I think I'm getting from Jay is that they turn on the generator and they know the generator works. But the concern here is some switching
The switch gear isn't
and,
engaging.
it never told it to turn on. It could have turned on, it was capable of turning on, but nothing told it to turn on.
correct.
And, that part of the system failed us, and, my understanding is that battery backup normally is gonna last for, is it 20 minutes or so?
It depends, but it's a 20 to 40 minutes. Its sole purpose really is to last long enough for the generator to kick on,
Right.
to hold the power.
And then even at that amount of time though, if a maintenance person lives in Gearing or whatever, they probably can make it here and turn it on manually if they had to.
So I had a discussion this morning with Tyler as part of that to find out what can we do for the comm center who's staffed 24/7. Is there some training we can do with them to say, hey, can you at least give me a visual, right? Because if you walk in that room, the thing's, it's loud. You're gonna open that door and know that you're on generator or not. So if we're not, how do we get somebody trained to go press the button or get somebody down here right away to make sure somebody that has been trained to make sure it does kick over? Because there is no monitoring, I believe, today on the generator that can let us know if it's on or off. And so, the UPS does have one because it's newer, but this generator doesn't tell us that it's not running.
The one answer I got was we move it to Scotts Bluff. That's not acceptable.
Move the,
The comm center.
Takes too
I
much to
never-
gear it
To
up. gear it
relocate,
down.
no.
Well, I didn't understand that. I only thought they
Yeah.
meant that because it was an emergency,
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, we have a,
Yeah.
we have a redundant backup
Yeah,
in Scotts Bluff, but I thought it was just for that, not the long term.
but even a short term, we should have enough backup to the backup to the backup to run our multi-million-dollar system here.
The only reason we should go to Scotts Bluff is if we had a flood or a catastrophe.
Or a bomb or whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we had to go there, but
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be the last,
Yeah.
the worst of the worst situation.
Chris, can we bring down an override switch into that comm center that all I have to do is open a box, probably a keyed box that somebody would open and turn the switch on down there, so they don't even have to go outside if it's a bad situation outside?
You mean outside the comm center?
No.
'Cause it's inside.
Instead of having somebody go upstairs, physically walk out to that generator, can't we bring an override switch into that comm center?
It's in the
put
ba- it's
a
in the
keyed
basement.
box? Huh?
It's in the basement.
The switch to turn it on is in the basement,
Yep.
and nobody knows how to turn that switch on?
I think it's been communicated, but I don't know that it's been communicated enough for people to feel comfortable to do
Well, it
that.
sounds like all we need is some training at this point.
Yeah, which is what I talked to Tyler about, if that's something they'd be willing to work with us on, to make sure, cause we can do two things. One, we can get some more batteries, there's about 5 bays left, probably could give us another 20 or 30 minutes so somebody could make a decision to get down here, but what we're going to do, you know, if it's happened again tonight, we're calling the comm center, I'm asking them, I've already trained my staff, go down into the room, open the door, do you hear this loud machine running? You don't, my guys are coming down right away to kick that generator on. So,
Was there also, a concern about internet service
it,
in this process?
it was because the entire room crashed, right? And so they were like, don't we have a backup connection? We do, but the entire room got all of its power taken away. So there was nothing we could do because there was no power anywhere.
Yeah, no power to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's not designed, we don't have that's some complexity to add, right? To have a secondary power source, that's available to keep that up and running when the generator fails and the UPS also runs out of battery. So yeah, we were just dead in the water and we couldn't do anything with any communication.
So that, the internet, connection, part of that was basically the connection was here, we just weren't able to utilize it.
Correct. Yeah, internet was good. We initially thought Allo was down too as part of it, but we
But
found
that
that it was not. It was the switch room had gone down. And so we had to just start restoring things and it takes some time. And also with the Zerker, once their stuff crashes hard, it locks their database. It's a protection they have so nothing gets changed. They're on call, you know, after hours, and so we have to call them and it took them about an hour and a half for them to get that back up and running. So as much as we can protect that system to not crash, it'll you know, save them some time when they come back up, that, oh, we just need internet connection restored, and the database would have been working just fine, but since it crashed, it causes a lot of problems.
Well, we appreciate the work that you do with our employees and others to help keep that, that room operational. And, it's critical, right? I mean, I think we're all of the thought and opinion that, everything is backed up, duplicated, redundant, and anything and everything that basically, I think that we've been asked for, we've tried to supply and give in that regard. And I'm hoping that, we never have to think about that being down because of something that we could have, what I'm gonna refer to as easily prevented. So,
Yeah, I think we have some
hope
checks and
that's the
balances we
case.
can do, right? It's a daily thing, right? And have also, you know, have John as part of John does walk through the data center every day for me to make sure that lights look good, there's no alarms. I'll have him thrown, hey, go check the generator, is the switch in the right, you know, does everything look good? So that way it should cut over, because it has been working, now we just have a manual process we need to do to make sure that, hey.
Now that we know
Now
that
that we
could
know.
happen,
Yep.
we can try to prevent it,
Yeah.
do it again.
So,
Alright,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I feel confident we'll come up with a solution that'll ensure
you.
that we don't have that happen again.
Thank
So-
you, Chris.
One other question, when we test this might be a question for Jay, but when we test the generator, are we testing it just by turning it on? Or
No,
are we testing it by turning off the electricity
It's
to the
supposed,
building?
cause that's how we found out about it, one of the other test times, was the server room crashed during a generator test. So it's
Oh.
supposed to be a full loss of power.
Right.
So, and then the UPS kicks on, and then the generator kicks on. So we should be testing it fully from like it would happen.
Under load.
Correct.
Under
Yep.
load,
So
right.
if the city just loses one leg of power, it will not kick on. It's gonna still think there's power because there's one leg feeding.
And yeah, you'd have to, that's probably a better question for Jay or somebody that understands electricity better than I do. But this should be tested that way to,
I think they had the same problem at the airport. They were talking about that out there. The one leg went down and it never let the generator come on.
It didn't tell the generator that it was
Okay.
dead enough for it.
Yeah, nobody told the
Wasn't
generator.
fully dead, yeah,
Makes sense.
alright.
if you guys
Chris,
have any
thank
more
you.
questions, I just wanted to quickly introduce Carrie Land. If you wanna stand up for a second?
Carrie Lind?
Carrie Land, yeah, no relation.
I bet.
Oh, yes.
She's the account manager for Bytes, and she's also participates in the IT committee meetings here. So she's visited with a lot of the department heads, and she will be representing me sometime. If I'm not able to make it, she will come in and give you guys an update. So I just wanna make sure that you guys got introduced to her, because you could be seeing her in the future. If for some reason I can't make it, she'll be a backup for me.
Awesome.
Unless he's on vacation, in that case, I'll be on vacation. It'll be sensitive.
Yeah,
Really?
Does Todd Lewis still work for you guys?
Yeah. So maybe you'll see him from time to time. So,
Very
anything else?
good. Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you, guys.
Thanks for all your hard
Yeah,
work.
no
We do,
problem.
we do
Thank you for
appreciate it.
supporting us.
We feel very secure and safe with what you guys are doing. At least I do. I don't know how the rest of, but I do.
You know, one thing just quickly is, we are meeting with, the Sentinel missile project's happening out in Kimball. And so we're definitely having there's gonna be a bigger threat in this area than there's really ever been with that missile project happening. And there's gonna be a lot of businesses in the area bidding for services out there, right, and they need to be protected. So you guys will see a lot more stuff about cybersecurity. I know Charlie has been invited to meet with some people from eastern part of the state to talk about what that heightened, threat security looks like for the area. And I feel confident you guys are protected in everything that we're doing, but we're gonna have to just, take a little bit, or heels in a little bit more to talk about end user security awareness training and the things that are gonna be happening. So we're hoping to get some more information on what threats they're seeing, so that way we can help protect the county against that. But just look for that to kind of be more and more in front of your guys' faces as we move forward through this project, because they're gonna open us up to some attacks.
I volunteered for the balloon watcher. I'll be doing that.
Right, thank you guys so much, have a good one.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, next item, are you tired, Matt? You're okay? Discuss, consider approval of temporary employment for a family member, Matt Meyer, Veteran Service Officer.
How you guys doing today?
We're doing fine.
Can I initiate the discussion?
Oh, yeah. So this is gonna be my phone a friend anyway, because it falls into HR land.
Matt's
That's my phone a
been
friend.
working it with me, or we've been discussing a concern from his office. He's an office of himself, and he has an office manager and an office assistant, basically. And anyway, one of his people has been dealing with some medical issues and he is a busy office. I'm thinking the business has doubled, tripled in the
About
last
3.5
year.
times, yeah.
Yeah. And he needs a competent person to fill in while his person is out on medical leave right now. And so he says, who I could really use is my spouse. She can really fill in for when I need. And I'm like, well, first of all, we do not hire relatives within the office, but we can contract. We changed our contract, our policy here a couple of years ago. And let me read to you section 3200, employment of relatives. It is a policy of Scotts Bluff County to hire the most qualified applicants available for job openings. However, because of potential interfamily conflicts in a department, the following policy restrictions will apply when hiring relatives of current employees. Under number 4, we talk about contractual services. Contractual services are subject to this policy and should be kept to a term of 3 months or less. Contractual agreement starting payment rate will be filed with the county clerk and placed on the commissioner agenda for approval. Contract employees will need to pass a background check. So we've been talking about this, and I'm okay with him working with his spouse for a short period of time to fill the time until we know the status of his current employee. So that's what Matt is here, and I believe he's already provided the contract, cause I actually
What time
helped him
limit do
put
you
it
have?
together. 3
What's it
months or
gonna be?
less.
3 months or less. And I mean, Andrea may not be the know-all, be-all, fix-all, but really what it does is it gives me time to, number one, let the employee heal and come back and work for us, if she's capable of doing that, and number two, hire somebody that's qualified to sit in that position.
Find someone else.
Andrea has a little bit of background in the medical field, currently going to school right now, and she offered her services up to us. She's done a lot of auditing and things for a multi-million-dollar nonprofit, which would be helpful for us, and she understands veterans because she spent time with this crayon eater for 21 years, right? Which her education background, elementary education, will also help me with some of my Marine Corps veterans. Just a joke, just a joke.
Well, the other advantage to that, I see, Matt, is that rather than put out applications, say, I wanna hire you, but it's only gonna be for a couple of months maybe, or whatever. What kind of we can't get applications here for full-time work.
And I'm not
You
looking
know.
for temp, I want somebody that's into the mission.
Exactly, and if she's
Wants to
willing to do
support the
that, to
rest.
help out for a while until we make decisions what we're gonna do for
To be
full-time
totally honest,
employees.
she's already volunteering time, she came in today to take a load off. I don't know if you guys know, but we've been sharing Sue. So she still works part-time for the clerk's office, she has ambitions of retirement, but she's also a veteran, so me and Kelly have been sharing her. We're extremely busy.
You're a big hog of
I am.
her.
I do steal her more often than not. We've been extremely busy, you know, as Lisa's pointed out, about 3.5 times the business. Mr. Blue and I sat down the other day, I just got a GDX report back, for 2022, we've increased comp and pen 2.75 million in the last year, 11% increase. So we brought 2.75 mil to this county off of our compensation and pension claims alone. So
No, you've given out 2.7 to our veterans.
yeah, absolutely, and you can see the difference. Word of mouth is quick, so anybody we've assisted in this county, they're reaching out to their friends, they're reaching out to their family members. We don't turn veterans away, we take care of veterans, so I think that's part of our increase. We've covered other counties that were struggling, kinda like we were when John had been sick. So, you know, Sioux County didn't have a veteran service officer for a long time, and we assisted them to try to help take care of veterans. Box Butte County had a transition, and they just got a gal in there that's doing a great job, and
You're doing some with Banner County too, aren't you?
we do Banner County as well. We assist Kimball because they've lost their VSO. So we're busy. I mean, there's a lot of lunches that I miss. We've stopped closing the office during lunchtime. We take individual lunches that are spread out, so I'm not turning away veterans that may be at work, coming into our office at their only available time, which would be their lunchtime. So we made a few changes in the office that do make it harder on us, but I think we're better able to serve the customer. End of the day, I think we all hope that our teammate comes back and she's back in the fight and able to do her JOB. It doesn't look very promising at this point, but we're still holding out for, you know, hopefully we get her back in and she's up to par and ready to work. Like I said, Andrea's not the overall fix, it's just interim. And then it allows us the opportunity to either get our employee back or hire a new qualified employee to carry forward.
And I think it's very important that you have somebody you can work with that you trust, because in that office, there's a lot of very personal information out there that has to be safeguarded.
Yeah, the PII.
And, where she's familiar with that, I think that'd be a blessing to you and a blessing to our veterans. And one thing I do like about our veteran service offices, they're not lazy, they're out there doing their job and doing exceptionally well. And they're bringing a lot of cash into the community.
Reoccurring income.
You know, this is income you're not providing a job for. You know, I'm one of those guys. I'm disabled. But that's money that comes into our community that can be used in the community. But the big thing is we need to keep Matt's office functioning at the level it is now and even get better. And I
Would you
think,
entertain a motion for the approval then, Mike, please?
yes, I move that we approve the hiring of a spouse for the veteran service officer on a temporary basis.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
I agree with it. We did it, as Charlie just told me, we did it in the assessor's office. And maybe that's when this was established, but it makes sense for a short period of time, and I have no problem with that. This talks about, that contractual agreement stating the payment rate, and that kinda needs to be dealt with. And then I'm assuming all the other things that a subcontractor would do, filling out all the paperwork, what is that, W-9?
For sure, we have to do a background check, and yes, a W-9 would have to be completed for
W-9,
Kelly's
All
office.
that kinda stuff, and
Yes, I think that was
obviously
in
it's a-
there, but,
Yeah,
Right.
background checks on this one,
background check is,
and it's
but,
gotta be done by the county,
All
cause
the-
Andrea has one already in there.
right, all the
It's gotta be
official
done.
paperwork.
Yes, sir.
Again, as we know, the perception's not good in the overall scheme of things, no matter how good a person she is and how good you are, there's some perception in the
Absolutely.
community that would be negative, but it's worth it for a short period of time. And that's what you're talking about here, and I'm happy with that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, please record your votes.
Okay to close?
Close.
You have 5 yeses?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I throw a couple comments out there real quick for you guys? Just so you know, the golf tournament's gonna happen again this year. We got almost $11,000 in sponsorship by local community for the golf tournament,
holy cow.
which is huge. We've already got 96 veterans and spouse or and family members signed up, so last year we focused primarily on suicide awareness. This year I wanna involve family, because I think that's one of the, especially for my generation of veteran, there's a lot of younger kids involved. And we're trying to get those family members involved as well, so, it'll be the 5th of August. If any of you wanna show up and say hi, I'd love to have you. Mr. Blue's coming out to put out the branches of service. I'm gunning for 144 total, and that's the max that the golf course can have, so we're already at 96, and we've still got a couple weeks till we close out, so. It was a huge event last year. I think we had 69 veteran golfers. We talked about some hard subjects, which, suicide awareness was one of them. And I had a lot of Vietnam era veterans come up to me, and they didn't realize we could talk about that stuff in open forums, right? So, giving them a little different perspective, that how to deal with some of these emotions and who to talk to, and creating that camaraderie to where if they did need to talk to somebody offline, they could meet some of those folks. The trick that I played on them last year was I didn't allow them to pick their partners. So a lot of times you come to those golf tournaments and I'm gonna pick my 3 friends, right? And I'm gonna take you and we're gonna go out and we're gonna try to win this tournament. Last year I drew everybody's name from a hat. So we had Vietnam era veterans with younger veterans, we had Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, we mixed everybody up. So it was a really cool event. I hope you guys can attend if you have the opportunity to come out and see it. Like I said, where else can you find $11,000+ worth of support via local community and business? So, to me, it shows how much people care here in our community about our veterans population and what they're willing to do to create an event and help me create an event for these
Could you
veterans.
send a reminder out, Matt, please?
Yes, sir. I will. I'll send you guys the flyer and the
That's
5
perfect.
Ws.
There's so many things going on. I thought,
I know you guys are busy. Thank
Very
you.
good.
thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, next discuss Christmas. Discuss and consider dates for budget meetings and with elected and appointed officials.
Number 1, do you still want to meet with all the officials?
I think it goes well when we do that, Lisa. I don't know how everybody else is thinking of it.
I think we have to.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, in years past, they've just met with some of the ones that they wanted to, they had questions on.
I think the past couple you've had us all come in for.
Yeah. Since I've been here,
Yeah.
we've done everybody, but
Right.
I just didn't know if that was still the feel. Probably, I figured it would be, 'cause yeah, it is a good opportunity to meet with everyone and discuss their current status and goals and such. I'd probably need 3 or 4 days, depending on how you wanna do this, and I know there's potential in the first week of August of continued protest hearings. There was, at least you don't think it's happening?
That's changing now.
That's changing.
It is changing quickly. I plan to be out of town August 3rd and 4th. So that's Thursday, Friday. So if we can start the next week, Give me 3 or 4 days. Do you wanna just do them all one right after the other?
I think so.
Okay, we have a regular meeting on the seventh, and then finish out the week, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, and we'll see what they
You guys, take 8, 9, 10, 11?
go to 3 to
And
7.
actually, that works for me, if,
Have
I can
you-
throw that out there, I'm available.
Of August.
Have you put any thought into what kind of wage
8, 9,
increases?
10,
we want
11.
these? So that's basically what budget is, it's wage increases. The people that have bought computer, the hardware things, office equipment, that, they bought that, and it's, you know, that doesn't have to be in the budget for next year. Basically, they're gonna have a wage increase, but I think anybody that has had, their hardware or their major things that they wanted to buy, have bought what they need for an asset, and they need just an increase in wages for what they have in their department. I don't know that we have to meet with those people if we know basically what the wage increase is.
It could
The
be a
wait-
5-minute meeting.
It could be a short meeting. Everybody has different goals, and there's just, we're getting through the salary survey. And most departments have been corrected to the right wage range. There's still a couple that we're finishing up.
What
I
did you
like
say
to see-
time, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock?
You wanna try to hammer it out in 3 days or 4 days? And maybe we can do 2 days the first week and 2 days the next.
8, 9, and 10,
How would that be?
Can we
8,
just
9,
get it
10,
done?
11 is what
Please.
you,
okay.
I mean, setting those 4 aside for now is what you're saying?
Okay.
That would work if that's,
And
or
what
do you wanna
time
do,
of the day?
She said start at 4.
4?
start at
So
3 or 4?
into the evening? Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of you like the later, well, some of you don't care, except Charlie.
Just 4 o'clock, I think, you know, the later in the day, the better, so I think starting at 4 is great.
Okay. So just try to go
That'd
8,
be
9,
good.
10, 11.
It'd just be easier on publishing, it's easier in my office, cause I got stuff
Mhm.
going on, so it works for me, I'd appreciate it if we could just do that.
I am nowhere near ready, but that'll be fine. I have to be.
8, 9, 10, 11.
8, 9, 10, 11, yeah.
Is this anything that needs action taken? I don't think so, do you?
I don't think you do. Just need to know what they're thinking after you're trying to get through the protest stuff. I know that's kind of on your mind, but I need to have some idea. 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll shoot for that and I'll update you on, you'll see emails. I'll start trying to get people scheduled for each night, and then, of course, then I hear, this will work
Friday
for
night,
me,
the
so then I
11th.
have to,
We're meeting on Friday night?
No, that's
8,
only if
9,
we
10.
have to. huh?
Maybe
How
we
about we
won't
go-
need it.
what?
Maybe we won't need it.
Well, if we do our days long enough, either that or 8th, 9th, 10th, and the 14th. How's that? I was kinda thinking that too. Fridays don't always go real well.
That still works for me.
Does it?
If you
Okay.
care.
The sooner the better. I mean, that's pretty slick. There's years my first year we were going once a week through the whole month of August, and that was getting pretty darn close
So
to
you wanna
times.
change 8, 9, 10, 14
Yeah,
instead?
yeah.
That'd be okay with me. In fact, probably, I think the thought of not doing it on Friday night is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially after the next couple of weeks we're gonna have.
Yeah. So we're saying 8th, 9th, 10th, and the 14th,
Yeah.
and we're saying start at 4. Do we have a quit time or anything, or
Well, let's try to go for 3. Let's try to go 4 to 7.
4 to?
3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe the 14th will be a wrap up. All the other extra funds that I work with, it'll just be you guys and me, and maybe a couple other departments.
Because whatever you say, or whatever she advertises, I'm assuming means that we have to be done by that time or not?
I'd have to, if
Yeah,
she needs more days, we have to publish again.
You have to advertise
No,
the
but I'm
days,
talking
not the
about
end time.
hours.
You just have a start time and however long it goes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to
When
have
I-
an end time.
You don't have to advertise
Right,
the,
right,
the
right.
end time.
Sorry.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I see. Very good.
And then, hey, if, the 14th is your wrap-up, would that be soon enough for you to talk about your fuel? Have it be a workshop too? Just throwing
I
it
don't
out
think
there.
that's the right time to do it. I think we need to have it when, we probably
Separate
should have
session.
Jay come back in so we can, but I think we need to discuss it as a board and figure out what we wanna do.
You guys decide when you wanna do it and then we'll get Jay back in here.
Yeah. Could it be part of his budget hearing? No?
Yeah, we could maybe do it at his.
I don't
budget
know. Have
meeting
yes, one
possibly.
yes, one
Well,
no.
it
Part
is,
is
it's gonna be,
budget.
it's part of budget workshop stuff.
So I could have him and Kurt back to back, maybe.
Yeah,
And then they
maybe
both-
set a little extra time for Jay and do it on his.
Yeah, we can maybe do it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then have Jay and then Kurt, and then they'll both be here and they can talk to you.
Okay, very good. So we'll move on to old business. Anybody have any old business that we don't have anything on here? We have none. Public comments. Anybody from the public wish to speak to the board at this time? Move on to board and staff reports. The only thing I've got, everybody got your copy of the, what did I do with it?
Uh-oh.
The suggestion from the state.
That's a note from my office from a meeting we had this morning.
Yeah. Suggesting that we continue the protests into Saturday. This is from Ruth and John Cannon. My suggestion is that we continue with our present schedule. We'll see what happens. I'm not really thrilled about going into Saturday. We've scheduled, through the week and then into Monday and Tuesday the following week. What are you guys thinking?
Okay, I need to speak to this, cause we're already using those dates still.
The Monday and
have-
Tuesday?
Yes.
Yes.
We have enough that we need Saturday. We need, as much as I don't wanna be here with you guys on the weekend, we need Saturday. Because what John, I guess I don't know, did this start with you and making a call to John, or John, I don't know who reached out to who, but we have to be done with our protest hearings statutorily by July 25th, which is why we're adding a Saturday, the Saturday, in between the 18th and the 25th.
So why did Ruth Sorensen suggest that we go into August?
Because we were hoping it worked and John Cannon kinda,
I thought she gave
Was-
us a variance to move into August if we had to.
With the feedlots.
Well,
it
the
has been
feedlots-
recommended that we not do that.
Now wait, the feedlots is a whole different deal.
Yes,
The
we
feedlots
sent
is
over-
30 days and extra, and that's a whole different subject.
Okay.
Yes, it is,
That's right.
This is all the other protests.
yes.
And what I'm trying to understand from this, I believe, is that somewhere along the way, John Cannon, who used to be an attorney in her office,
Right.
right? He used to work for her in her office. And my understanding is that he looked at some things
They-
and said to her, hey, you can't go past the 25th.
I feel like both entities are trying to help Scotts Bluff County succeed, and this came up.
Well, I think they are too. I think that the only difference here is Ruth felt that we could go past the 25th at the meeting when she was here.
Right.
She felt she could do that and give us an exemption, so to speak, from meeting the date on the 25th. And somewhere along the way, John spoke with her,
Or
and
she,
John was here
or
that
she
night.
reached out to him, I don't know.
Somewhere there was communication between the two of them, and John and her decided that, hey, statutorily, that we can't go past the 25th, like she originally told us.
Yes,
And
that is
so
my understanding.
now they're asking to back that up and be done by the 25th. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes,
In order to accomplish that, we need a Saturday.
And,
yes,
and I just heard tonight Mark say that we're at 688 or something like that. Still, as you said, Kelly, we're still seeing some additional no hearing needed, and that number, it really won't go up. I don't think it'll only go down, if anything. Hopefully there'll be less. Mark told me tonight that Hall County has 1,700 protests. And
Can you
so,
imagine? Jeez.
he said, they're one of the worst counties as far as the quantity of protests that they're dealing with. But,
Well, those blanket appraisals aren't working, are they?
well, that whole thing is just not satisfied, that's for sure. But I
Well,
think that's where this is coming from, and
And that may all change as we get into it too, as we get through quicker, we'll see what happens.
hopefully so.
Yes.
We'll see what happens.
I mean, they keep working on reviewing the comps that have been provided by property owners and.
And I know Kelly's office been working very hard trying to get things scheduled and getting them
And,
moved forward.
and we really don't have to take action on this because
No.
we had already set these days aside.
Yes,
Okay,
We were hoping not to use it.
yes.
so with that, you have anything?
Do
from the
not.
board? Mike, you have anything?
I went down to Kimball, last week when they had their ribbon cutting for their expanded, transit system. Met people from the state and, the, bus system they have, the schedules, the routes and stuff are really good for western Nebraska. And I see one of the side benefits of that is our mental health community. Because people who normally would be shut in are able to get out, and once they load a bus system, they're out and they're visiting friends and people they meet. There's people actually riding that bus for 2 or 3 hours a day, just visiting with people. So, one of the side benefits to all the communities is our behavioral health, communities being benefited by that. Then I think it was Thursday morning, I come down here when we got the new DAV van. The gentleman drove it out from Lincoln, so I'm excited about that. I think Matt plans on taking the old one out of service and offering it to Dawes County at a certain rate if they need it, so hopefully it'll see extended use. But I want to thank Matt for orchestrating a lot of that, and I appreciate it.
Holy
It's good.
I forwarded an email from Dawes County also, they're concerned about the staffing at Region One. And I don't know how you guys feel, I hadn't heard back. I know there was one of the counties is not going to sign a letter, about some of the folks working from home. There was a response from the staff at Region One indicating that the majority of the work that they do up there is not face-to-face, it's more referral things. So I want you to think about how you feel about it, get back with me or whatever, I'm the representative to Region One, and I can let them know. We have to make a decision on it, but I just wanna make sure that you all got that correspondence.
I was kinda hoping we'd have a bit more discussion on that
Yeah,
this
and,
evening.
well, I didn't hear back from anybody, so I didn't know whether we need to put it on. We can put it on the next agenda if you wanna talk about it.
Yeah, I guess if we're gonna take action as a board, it has to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so can you put that on the agenda for next time?
You'll need to send it what you need, yes.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay. Remind me, please.
Region One,
Yeah, Region One. It's the letter, did you get a copy of the letter?
Region One Behavioral Health.
I'll get you a copy of it. I thought your name was on it, Kelly, I'm sorry. Okay. Mark, you have anything?
Yeah, I need to tell you about a meeting. We had a facilities meeting and, over at the courthouse, and Lisa was there, Jay, and anyway, long story short is that, over at the courthouse, Jay had went into Judge Mickey's courtroom and was doing, just a routine upgrade, just freshening up of paint
Just
and
carpet.
carpet.
Just carpet.
And, that started a conversation, I would call it a conversation at this point, I guess, of Mr. Judge Mickey saying, besides that, well, we need this and we need that, and can we remodel what do we call that, the podium area up there, and, new seating, and instead of, just a routine keeping things up to date, it turned into a little more than that, and in my opinion, it went from a $8,000 or $10,000 project, maybe up to a $40,000 project. And then the discussion was, well, if we're gonna be doing that in that courtroom, then surely we'll be thinking about that for the other 3. And so all the judges were there except for Judge Mickey. No, and Judge Ward wasn't there either. The district judges were there, but not the county judges. And Darla was there. Anyway, we spoke about it. I told them that I would at least mention it to you. It may come up as part of our story during budget time, I suspect. But, I said, I don't think we as commissioners, we've never talked about this as being some kind of a priority for us. And, whether or not we're willing to do $40,000 maintenance, upgrade, freshening up, I don't know. But at the very least, the commissioners need to know that this discussion has at least happened, and it might be coming up in the future. So I'm just bringing you up to date on that. And, Miss Kelly, can I just confirm again, I like doing it. So we just talked about those dates in August for budget hearing. We have July 18th through the 25th for our protest starting tomorrow, and those all are gonna start at 9 a.m., is that right? That's how we have them advertised, I
Okay,
think.
except for the 18 through 21, so Tuesday through Thursday, and Monday and Tuesday, the 24th and 25th, will be 9 a.m. starts. And Saturday, the 22nd, will be a 10 o'clock start.
So they're all 9 o'clock except for Saturday.
Yes.
So are we not meeting the 25th? You said 21 through 24.
And 24 and 25.
So 21 through 25.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at August. I'm sorry.
18th through 21 is 9 o'clock, right?
Okay.
24 and 25 is 9 o'clock. Everything's 9 o'clock except for this Saturday.
Except for
Cause
Saturday.
I picked 10 o'clock, cause
Didn't wanna get
I
it.
wanted to.
Yeah. Okay,
So yes,
alright, so I just wanted to confirm that, and then,
right now, tomorrow, we have an actual break kind of for lunch. And we should be out of here around 6:30. If you guys can keep people to their time slots, I will have copies of the calendars up here for y'all. But otherwise, as kinda, right now, we're still at 9 to 9. Until kinda keeps working through with phone calls.
9
But-
to 9 every night except tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
and then, for August, then we have our regular meetings on the 7th and the 21st.
7th and 21, yes.
Okay,
So we'll
And-
have 3 Mondays in a row, cause we'll have that
right,
budget workshop of Lisa's on the 14th.
I'm putting in for
7,
overtime.
14, 21
right.
of August.
Alright, just wanted to be sure I was covered up through the month of August on my schedule.
Okay,
Okay. Anything else, Mark?
No,
Charlie, you have anything?
No, county tourism will have a couple, big items that have to be approved by commissioners coming up. One is the, fairgrounds. I think that's the only one, actually.
no,
That
she's
for the
got
rodeo?
2.
She got two.
Hang on. Let me see if I can find it for you.
And so one is the fairgrounds improvement. Oh, and Legacy of the Plains.
Thank you, yes.
Legacy, just so you know in advance, Legacy of the Plains is asking for $150,000 over 3 years. And, the county fairgrounds is asking for like 50 something.
What's Legacy of Plains?
Should I try and find it again?
Like, farm museum.
I know,
They have a
what's the
program
plan for
or-
them?
Oh, it's just
Project.
their capital improvement project. It's a massive project. Lots of different things going on. Sidewalks and walking paths and
Oh,
new buildings and all sorts of stuff. So that'll be at the next commissioner meeting. Oregon Trail Days was good for tourism. September 9th, again, coming up. It'll be here before we know it, is that Gravel National Championship bike race starting in downtown Gearing. We will have a resolution to pass, to take control of Highway 71, just as we do, for the marathon, for that bike race. And then Banner County will have to do the same thing, cause they're gonna use that as well. That's really all I have to report on.
Okay. Lisa, you have anything? Sheriff? Pat, anything else? Heather? Kelly?
I think I pretty much gave you my stuff, just warn you, we haven't talked about lunches. So yes, tomorrow we do have like a little lunch at the same time, but we're gonna have to just stagger. We'll have food next door for you guys, but you'll have to go eat one at a time so that we can get through these. I had to fill in the lunch times and supper times too. So,
We'll figure it out.
I figured we could.
We'll figure it out.
Do we know what we're ordering for lunch tomorrow?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt hooked us up.
You gotta put it on your manifold, drive around for an hour. Get them warmed up.
That only works for sea rats.
Plugged up.
Okay, with that, I need a motion to move into executive session. In the session will be Lisa, the board. Paulette's not here, right? Is she?
No,
Okay.
this is not on.
Just
or is
us.
it? Oh,
Just
I
us.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Have a
Thank you,
motion
next goodness.
and,
Heather,
we'll move into executive session at 7:02.
And record your vote.
Call your, record your vote, please.
Record your votes, please.
Record your votes, please.
Russ, record your votes, please.
I did.
It's too early, maybe.
No,
Oh, man.
says I did it twice.
Mike, you do yours?
We good? No, we got it.
Got it,
Okay,
all right.
close?
Okay. We'll move in, meet your office.
You got 5 yeses.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna shut this off.
Oh, probably back in.
It's been a long night already.
Oh, yeah. You watch, I won't sleep.
Okay.
I haven't been home all day.
I haven't either.
I need to go take some medicine and take care of myself.
Okay.
All right, so we are back in regular session at,
7:31.
7:31. Call
And-
the roll, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Knapper,
Yes.
Reisig,
Yes.
Blue.
Yes.
Any decisions?
None? Of course, we are adjourned.
We are
Not to
recessing to
adjourn,
the
but-
detention center tour, please.
Yeah.
And can I have a motion for that?
I move we recess, to move to the detention facility tour.
Okay,
I'll second it. Call the roll.
Harris,
Yes,
Meyer.
Yes.
Blue,
Yes.
Reisig,
Yes.
Knapper.
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Here's your voter deal.
Thank you.
I'll try and call or text when we're
Are
done.
we using the voter